President Joe Biden said the U.S. would defend Taiwan if China attacked. And not for the first time. Staś Butler speaks with Stanford University political scientist Kharis Templeman about why Biden keeps saying that.
Experts weigh in on the possibility of herd immunity in Taiwan, and in #Taiwan, I tell you about how the country fits into the 15th anniversary of Google's Street View service. This is Taiwan Insider.
Welcome to the show. U.S. President Joe Biden has made global headlines this week about his remarks about how the U.S. would defend Taiwan. Let's take a look at what he said in Tokyo this week.
Are you willing to get involved militarily to defend Taiwan if it comes to that?
Yes.
You are?
That's the commitment we made.
Biden also elaborated on the U.S.'s One China policy and determination in deterring China from attacking Taiwan.
We support the One China policy. We support all that we've done in the past. But that does not mean that China has the ability, the jurisdiction to go in and use force to take over Taiwan. So we stand firmly with Japan and with other nations not to let that happen. And my expectation is it will not happen. It will not be attempted. And my expectation is a lot of it depends upon just how strongly the world makes clear that that kind of action is going to result in long-term disapprobation by the rest of the community.
This is the third time in Biden's presidency that he has said that the U.S. would defend Taiwan. Now, does that mean the U.S. will send troops to Taiwan if China attacks? Well, Staś Butler speaks with Stanford University political scientist Kharis Templeman and asks him if he thinks Biden has been saying yes deliberately.
Well, I think Biden did it deliberately. There's a large number of people in the U.S. government who think the U.S. needs to signal to China that military action would be met by the United States with a serious response, up to and including, a military intervention by the U.S. There are a couple things to note here. One is that the One China policy is not the same as strategic ambiguity. A lot of people get this confused. But the One China policy dictates the United States' relationship with the People's Republic of China and the island and people of Taiwan. That is the underlying policy that remains unchanged here. Strategic ambiguity is a separate issue about whether the United States has and would intervene to defend Taiwan in the event of a conflict. And let me be flat out, the U.S. has no legal obligation to intervene to defend Taiwan. And so it depends on the kind of statements, and ultimately the U.S. backstop of Taiwan's defense depends on the willingness of the U.S. president to put American lives in harm's way. And each American president over the years has signaled in certain ways whether they would or would not do that. Biden is not the first, actually, to come out and explicitly say that he would intervene if there was a military attack on Taiwan. George W. Bush said the same thing in April 2001. And so this is not an unprecedented statement. So my interpretation of this is that Biden is trying to send as strong a signal as he can to the Chinese that the U.S. could and would and has to be involved in responding to military threats against Taiwan.
And, Biden's response to the question about whether he would intervene was tied by the reporter who asked it to the issue of Ukraine. And, and indeed Biden himself tied it to this issue. Has the war in Ukraine made the United States more likely to intervene in Taiwan?
I don't know that it's made it more likely. I do think it's increased the urgency or the kind of importance of signaling to the world that the U.S. does have a strategic interest in seeing the cross-strait division resolved peacefully. The Russian invasion of Ukraine has really, I think, woken a lot of people up to the fact that great power conflict is not a thing of the past, that, a major land war in Europe is occurring right now. A lot of people thought that wasn't really possible or feasible in today's world. And it's clear that it is. And so there's, it's added to the sense of nervousness in Washington about other longstanding security issues the U.S. is concerned about. And at the top of that is the Taiwan issue.
And obviously the US is pivoting, a lot of its focus to the Indo-Pacific, and part of that is a new economic framework called the Indo-Pacific Economic Framework. And Taiwan was left out of this. Why? And what does it matter?
It certainly matters. I think Taiwan would benefit from being in it. Taiwan would benefit from a much stronger, more robust and institutionalized economic partnership with all of the countries in that group, as well as with the United States. And so it's, from my view, unfortunate that Taiwan was left out of that. But the reasoning for it, it looks very contradictory. On the one hand, you have Biden saying, we've got to do everything we can to defend Taiwan and to support it. And then on the other hand, don't mention Taiwan when we talk about this new Indo-Pacific economic framework, because frankly, Taiwan is a problem for some of the other countries who the Biden administration was trying to recruit to join. So just like with the Trans-Pacific Partnership negotiations, Taiwan's entry into an economic agreement would be opposed by a couple of these members because they're worried about pressure from China. In particular, Vietnam and Malaysia are the two countries that I've heard would be unlikely to participate if Taiwan were involved. And so the Biden administration made a hard decision to leave Taiwan out of this and to try to recruit as many other countries as possible. So that's kind of the political calculation behind this. But it does, to be fair, it does create a policy that looks like a bit of a contradiction.
In a piece of good news for Taiwan, the wave of COVID infections sweeping across the country seems to have reached its peak. Tomasz Kopa has the details.
In the past week, COVID-19 case numbers have stopped swelling somewhat and have even seen a mild decline. The Central Epidemic Command Center expects the current outbreak of the virus to peak in late May or early June. Experts say infections in Taiwan are plateauing. Dr. Hong Ziren from the Xinguang Hospital says that during the plateau period, case numbers will stay level for some time. After that, they will start to gradually decrease, but only fall under 10,000 after the end of June. He also says that as infections fall in the north of the country, they will start to swell in the central and southern parts. Despite that, Dr. Hong believes cases shouldn't break 120,000 a day. Some experts say that herd immunity in Taiwan might reach 80% as early as 2 weeks from now. Taiwan measures herd immunity by looking at the number of people who have received 3 doses of a COVID-19 vaccine or have recovered from the infection. This is one of the necessary conditions allowing for reopening of national borders. Dr. Huang Limin from National Taiwan University Hospital disagrees. He says that based on evidence from other parts of the world, it is doubtful that achieving 70% or 80% herd immunity is possible in such a short period. Dr. Huang also says a fall in cases is only one factor in assessing the situation. If a new variant of the COVID-19 virus emerges, it may force experts to redo their calculations from scratch.
Taiwan has one of the lowest birth rates in the entire world. Now, some say that wage stagnation is a major reason why people aren't having children. But curiously, Changhua County in central Taiwan has the lowest average monthly wage, but the highest birth rate in Taiwan. What gives? Well, Shirley Lin will tell you.
A recent job fair was held in Changhua County. It attracted many people looking for new jobs. However, the average monthly salary in Changhua is the lowest in all of Taiwan, at only a little more than 32,000 NT dollars. In Taiwan, families with low incomes generally choose not to have many children because they can't afford it. But in Changhua, it is the opposite. Though it has the lowest average wage in Taiwan, it also has the highest birth rate. This mother says she doesn't think it's expensive living in Changhua. She says she has her in-laws to take care of her child while she's at work. Besides, she says her in-laws live with her, making it more convenient and helping her save money. This other mother says she got a 30,000 NT dollar government subsidy after giving birth to her child. Compared to other cities and counties, she says that's pretty generous. The reason why people in Changhua can afford to have more children is because many of them have family businesses in traditional industries to rely on. Just the county's Yuanlin city alone has over 700 billionaires, the highest per capita in Taiwan. Much wealth also comes from Dacun village, which produces half of the grapes grown in Taiwan. With many residents owning their own land, good benefits, and low prices, Changhua has become the county most daring to have more babies.
Now, if you're not too familiar with Taiwan's geography, and Shirley's report on Changhua had you reaching for Google Maps, well, you wouldn't be the only one. Data released on Tuesday showed that Taiwan was the 8th most searched country in the world on Google Street View. What's all that about? Leslie Liao has the details in #Taiwan.
Google is celebrating the 15th anniversary of its Street View service. Street View is part of Google's map service, which allows you to browse actual photos of places as you examine a country's streets and roads. When it first started out, Google collected these photos by mounting 360-degree cameras on cars and then sending them down streets. Street View has since evolved, allowing us to see views from the tallest building in the world, the Burj Khalifa, and from the International Space Station, all from the comfort of our own home. In Taiwan, you can even explore national parks and walk through the National Palace Museum through Street View as well. How did Google get those images? Well, Google Taiwan mounted cameras on bicycles and even people to capture scenes from the country in even more detail. Google Street View's history in Taiwan is outlined in Google Taiwan's blog post commemorating the service's 15th anniversary. However, what drew the most attention in the blog post is this. Over the past 12 months, Taiwan was the 8th most searched country in Google's Street View. Taiwan's capital city, Taipei, was also the 8th most searched city in Google's Street View as well. If you're curious, the first most searched country and city was Indonesia and its capital, Jakarta. The Google Taiwan blog post went a step further and showed the 25 most searched places in Taiwan. Now, you might think that first place would go to a big internationally recognized landmark like Taipei 101, but you'd be wrong. Oh boy, would you be wrong. The first most searched place in Taiwan is a random convenience store in central Taiwan's Changhua County, which I couldn't tell you why. I thought maybe that this convenience store was particularly scenic in some way, but when I looked it up, that's not the case. It's just a run-of-the-mill convenience store. I mean, it's got 3 car parking spaces, which is pretty rare for a convenience store in Taiwan, but how that would make it the most searched place in Google Street View in Taiwan, I have no idea. But according to TVBS, this particular convenience store is at an intersection where many traffic accidents happen. So it seems that a lot of the most searched places in Street View in Taiwan are news related. One of the coolest things about Google Street View is that you can explore a place without actually going there. And at the time of COVID-19 and travel restrictions, when you can't really go anywhere anyway, Google Street View is the next best thing. Or the only thing, really. What a time to be alive.
And before we go, let's have a look at some of the other stories that are on our radar.
6 young children have been confirmed to have died due to COVID-19 in Taiwan. 5 of these cases suffered from serious brain inflammation after contracting the disease. Many of the other young children with serious COVID symptoms are also experiencing brain inflammation. Researchers are investigating whether the deaths are related to genetics. Parents are advised to watch for symptoms such as high fever, shaking, unsteady walking, and disoriented thinking. Starting Thursday, those whose positive COVID-19 rapid test results are confirmed by a doctor will be officially counted as COVID-19 cases. They will not need to take additional PCR tests. Results can be confirmed through a remote consultation or at a testing site, clinic, or hospital. Authorities say the new policy will help patients get medication more quickly, which will lower the risk of developing serious symptoms. After 6 years in power, President Tsai Ing-wen still enjoys substantial but somewhat wavering support. Her approval rating on big issues is over 46%, having fallen by 4 percentage points compared to last month. The president also received an average grade of 61.5 out of 100. But most voters feel her administration was not well prepared to handle the recent Omicron outbreak. Critics say that other popular figures like Health Minister Chen Shizhong are boosting the president's ratings.
And we're back in the studio, and this week I want to do something a little bit different for our final question, inspired by Leslie's hashtag.
on Google Street View and Taiwan's prowess at being high in those search rankings. I want you to show me your best Google Street View view. Leslie, let's start with you.
Well, take a look over here. I got a picture of the peak of Yusan, the highest mountain in Taiwan. And it just kind of blows my mind that I can just enjoy that view from the comfort of my own home.
That's true.
Like while we're in the studio.
I mean, why go there?
Why
really?
go there?
Why go to all the trouble, right?
Exactly. It's a long
Hiking
way.
all the way up over there.
It's like 3,000 some odd meters.
Have you been?
I haven't. And then now looking at this picture,
Now you don't
I'm
need
thinking,
to.
what am I missing out on
right
now?
off. You can just cross that one right out. What about you, Natalie?
Take a look at this. I'm on the other side of the spectrum.
Oh,
It's
wow.
underwater. This is
wow.
Green Island, a place called Dabaisa, a very famous place for diving and snorkeling. Isn't it beautiful?
It's beautiful.
That's someplace I would like to go.
I got a camera underwater. That's crazy to
That's
me.
real commitment.
Yeah.
I mean, top marks to Google for that. My picture, take a look at this. This is from Taroko Gorge, one of the many
I love that
hiking
area.
trails. I mean, such just like dramatic scenery with those sheer cliffs and mountains, and it's just one of the most beautiful places I think in Taiwan. So it had to be Taroko Gorge for me.
Wonderful.
But anyway, that's just about it from us, Taiwan Insider this week. I'm Stash Butler.
I'm Natalie Tso.
I'm Leslie Liao.
Make sure to follow us on our social media channels. You can catch us on Facebook and YouTube.
Also on Twitter, and do leave us a comment. We'd love to hear from you.
And we're also on Instagram now, so don't forget to check that out as well. Send us a message, tell us what you think. Until next week, guys, we'll see you around.